Due to unfortunate circumstances and shit, I can't do this video tomorrow. Oh god, my eye hurts. So anyways, I'm doing my week 13, I believe, picks for the 2017 NFL season. A day early, just like I did last week, although I had to do that for Thanksgiving. But anyways, last week, I forgot actually. So anyways, I looked it up. Last week, I was 11-5. Not bad. One of my best weeks so far this season. And of course, here's the playoff stands. Based upon how it is right now, at the season end of the day, in the AFC, it would be the Steelers and Patriots with the byes, with the Ravens back in the playoffs going to the Titans, and the Jaguars going to the Chiefs. And in the NFC, it's the Eagles and Vikings still with the byes, with the Falcons going to the Rams, and the Panthers going to the Saints, in an all NFC South showdown with the final three picks of the final three seeds in the playoffs. Anyways, my pick has changed, as it's now the Eagles beating the Steelers in the Super Bowl. So now, let's get to the week 13's picks. And also, I'll try and mention every playoff elimination clinch scenario if I can just remember them off the top of my head, since I forgot a couple last week. But anyways, we get this week started with our Thursday night game tomorrow, as it's the Redskins going to the Cowboys. And this has big, significant implications in the NFC East, as if the Redskins win or tie the Cowboys, the Eagles will win get a playoff spot and win the NFC East for the first time since 2013. Also, regardless of what happens in this game, if the Eagles beat the Seahawks on Sunday night, they'll also win the NFC East and a playoff spot that night too. So as we get into the game, oh boy. Redskins are still playing, I don't really know what to say about them. And the Cowboys, oh my god, they've been fucking terrible without Zeke. And of course, they still have half his suspension still to go through. Oh my god, they're hot garbage. And of course, the Cowboys, they've beaten the Redskins now 3 in a row, I believe. The last time the Redskins beat the Cowboys was, ironically, in A&T Stadium back at the season finale in 2015. Oh boy. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys somehow get it, but seeing how they're just not the same without Zeke and the rest of that offensive line still having problems, I'm going to pick the Redskins for this one. And with that, the Eagles would win a playoff spot in the NFC East. And we get to the 1 p.m. game, start off with the Vikings going to the Falcons for the first time since 2015? 2012. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly, but anyways, even though if the Vikings win and the Lions lose, the Vikings still will not win the NFC North outright. They gotta wait another week still for that. And of course, the Falcons, now they've won 3 in a row, I believe, too, as the Vikings now won 7 in a row now too. They're looking really good and stuff. Oh boy, this one's gonna be tough, as it is a very important game for the NFC. However, oh god, I'm gonna have to really think about this, since they're still not gonna do Teddy Bridgewater. I think they're sticking with Case Keenum. I think I'm gonna have to pick the. Oh god, I still can't really pick. Oh boy, the Falcons are on a hot roll right now, so I think they'll finally end the Vikings winning streak. But I won't be surprised if the Vikings somehow get it. Then we got a very important outer conference showdown, as the Lions go to the Ravens for the first time since 2009, as they're both trying to fight to keep ahead against the Steelers and Vikings in their respective divisions. And of course, the Lions had a hard fought, although they really just killed themselves pretty much against the Vikings. And the Ravens had a hard fought game against the Texans. I'm actually was a little bit surprised at how close that was. And, oh boy, this one's kind of difficult to predict too, because the Lions actually have an offense unlike the Texans, and their defense is solid too, so on paper they're actually probably a little bit better than the Ravens, but of course they're not really consistent, whereas the Ravens, they have a defense that can give them a championship. It's just their offense is so terrible. And of course, the Lions have never beaten the Ravens in Baltimore. They've been blown out every single time they come here. Remember that 48-3 loss they suffered in 2009 or something like that. I'm sure it's going to come back to bite me in the ass, but I'm going to pick the Ravens to get this one. And of course, also, if the Ravens and Bengals too lose and the Steelers win, the Steelers still will not clinch the AFC North, if you're wondering about that. We got an important AFC East showdown, as the Patriots make their first game against the Bills this week. And if the Patriots beat the Bills, they still will not clinch the AFC East. They might, although I highly doubt they just maybe can get a playoff spot, but I'm really skeptical about that. As the Patriots now won 7 in a row, what else is there to say? I mean, it's not really much of a surprise. And the Bills, they got a really impressive victory against the Chiefs. That was a very important season-saving win right there. And, of course, if they really want to be serious contenders to make playoff spot, they have to beat the Patriots here. They can't lose both games against them, especially when they got to play them, I think, back-to-back weeks. That's like really wrong. Actually, no, I think they got to play them like at week 16 or something like that, but they got to play them again very soon. But if the Bills want to take themselves seriously, they have to beat the Patriots here, but I don't think it's going to happen. The Bills haven't beaten the Patriots at home since 2011 for crying out loud. That was just a huge comeback, so it'll be the Patriots getting it. And then it's the 49ers going to the Bears for the 3rd year in a row, too. How about that? Matter of fact, I think this is the 4th year in a row they play each other, too, pretty much. As the 49ers got another losing season, and, of course, eliminated from the playoffs for another year in a row. And the Bears are trying to avoid a 4th straight losing season. As I found out the 49ers are going to start Jimmy Garoppolo this week, too, so that'll be kind of interesting to see, but oh boy, I think actually they've split back and forth between each other. I think it was in 2015 the 49ers beat the Bears in a overtime finish, but then I think the Bears destroyed them this time around. And of course, although they're the road warriors this year, the Bears have played much better when they host a team, so I think it's going to be easily the Bears for this one. And then it's the Buccaneers going to the Packers for the first time since 2011, as the Buccaneers, after those 2-game win streak, they got the shit kicked out of them by the Falcons and such, and the Packers, wow, they almost pulled it off against the Steelers. Are you kidding me? I didn't think that was going to even happen, but in the end, they almost got to, so it shows that they're inconsistent, but you still can't fully underestimate them without Aaron Rodgers, who, of course, still, like I said earlier this year, he might come back, as they said. He might be available by the time they play 13 games, which would be like 2 more weeks from now, so who knows? Maybe if they keep around 6-6 or 7-5 or somewhere around that, maybe Rodgers can come back in and help them pull off an incredible comeback to maybe get a wild card spot, perhaps, since the Vikings have put so much of a lead. I don't think it's going to be possible for them to catch up with them. But in the end, I think the Packers are going to get this one, unless they shit the bed like they did against the Ravens, but the Buccaneers are nowhere near as good as the Ravens, especially on defense. And then it's the Colts going to the Jaguars, as the Colts are trying to avoid their first losing season since 2011, and the Jaguars are 1 win away from getting their first non-losing season since 2010, and the Colts have not beaten the Jaguars in Jacksonville since 2014 for crying out loud. It's been a couple of years since they last beat them there. And of course, the Colts are dog shit. And of course, the Jaguars just blew a big opportunity they had against the Cardinals. They pulled off a comeback, but just couldn't get in the end. And of course, with that strong defense and with the Colts being terrible and stuff, they're going to be tanking pretty much. So I think the Jaguars will get this. And then we get our game in our AFC matchup between 2 of the worst teams in the conference, as it's the Broncos going to the Dolphins for the first time since 2011. As the Broncos, they've actually overall played a lot better these last 2 weeks than they did during the previous 5 weeks, but they are still terrible. They've lost 7 in a row now. They have probably the worst losing streak at the moment outside of the Browns, perhaps. I can't think of who else has a worse losing record. And of course, the Dolphins have lost 5 in a row now, and Jay Cutler, I found, is going to be starting this week, so going up against his former team once again. I think only for the first time, the second time ever he did that too. So, oh god, I bet the Broncos wish they had Tebow Magic like they did the last time they played, when they scored 15 unanswered points in the final 2 minutes to win in overtime, pretty much. But of course, oh boy, this is going to be kind of difficult to pick because both teams are just terrible. You can't really trust either one of them. But at least with the Broncos, they've played a little bit better these last 2 weeks, and the Dolphins have been terrible, so although I won't be surprised if the Dolphins get it, I'm going to pick a surprise upset and pick the Broncos for this one. And then it's the Chiefs going to the Jets for the first time since 2011, I believe it was, as the Jets, oh, they got to go back to New York after their last 2 weeks away. And oh my god, what an epic collapse the Chiefs had. After that 5-0 start, they've been sick. They've gone 1-5 since. Oh, as Jeff said over at Schleg Day, maybe they should indeed start considering starting Patrick Mahomes now. And of course, the Jets they fought pretty hard against the Panthers, but just couldn't get it in the end. And of course, now that with the Chiefs, they had a huge start, and with the AFC West being terrible, you thought they could run away with it, even if they struggled a bit. But no, now they're getting to the point where now they got to worry about if the Raiders or Chargers might come back against them. So, oh boy, that's going to be quite difficult for them. And, oh boy, I won't be surprised if the Chiefs get it, but I think, just like with the Broncos, I think I'm going to pick the Jets in an upset because at least they're playing much more better and consistent, unlike the Chiefs. And then it's the Texans going to the Titans, as the Titans are trying to keep up with the Jaguars, and the Texans are just trying to keep up with their playoff hopes alive, even though they're really dashed at this point, as they had that hard-fought loss against the Ravens last week. I was actually really surprised that they fought so hard, and the Titans had to pull off that comeback against the Colts. I was really impressed with that one, although I think Mariota still did not overall do that good. And of course, oh boy, the last time the Texans beat the Titans in Nashville was 2015. So the Texans actually have a pretty good history against the Titans the last 5 years because the Titans were so terrible these last bunch of years. However, I don't think it's going to be close. I think the Titans are going to get it and get their first non-losing season since 2011. But I also got a funny feeling that the Titans are going to screw us up somehow, so I won't be surprised if the Texans somehow get it. And then we get to the 4 p.m. game, starting with the Browns going to the Chargers for the first time since 2015, as the Browns make their first appearance in L.A. since 1994, where that year they made 2 trips to L.A. against the Raiders and Rams. And of course, the Browns are eliminated from the playoffs, so now they have, once again, the second longest streak in the league, which is now 16 years. And of course, they still have the second longest streak unless the Bills somehow end their streak this year. And of course, trying to avoid 0-12 for the second year in a row and such, as they're going up against the only team that they've beaten the last 2 years. And at this rate, I'm starting to consider maybe at the end of the season, maybe make a video on how maybe the Browns are like the worst 3-year stretch of any team in NFL history in at least a long time. As the Chargers, that was a dominant performance against the Cowboys last week, as they're putting themselves in contention to maybe challenge the Chiefs and Raiders for the AFC West. Matter of fact, when you look at the stats between the Chargers and Chiefs, the Chargers, I believe, have scored a little bit more, slightly less points, and I think they've allowed a little bit less points, and they're only a game behind, so they're playing way better than the 5-6 record they are at the moment. So you can't really underestimate the Chargers at the moment. I'm starting to consider them maybe the best team in the AFC West at the moment, since the Chiefs are really struggling. So I will pick the Chargers, obviously, but you can't underestimate the Browns. I mean, they fucking embarrassed you all by you giving them their only win last year. So, and of course, the last time they went to the Chargers in 2015, that went down to overtime for crying out loud. And I think the Chargers had to pull off a comeback in order to get into overtime. So, to the Chargers fans, don't underestimate the Browns just because they're terrible and have a losing record. Take them seriously, or they might actually get another win against your asses. So I'm warning you, watch out for that. And then we get to the very important NFC South showdown, as it's the Panthers going to the Saints, as the Panthers are trying to get their first win season since 2015, and the Saints are trying to get their first win season since 2013, as whoever wins this takes the lead in the NFC South. And of course, for the Saints, this would be not good if they lost this one, because then I think they got to go to the Falcons next Thursday night, and that's definitely not going to be good for them, pretty much so. And of course, the Panthers still have to play the Falcons, I believe, twice as well. No, they actually did play the Falcons, that's right. And I think they won that. So, Panthers losing this won't be as bad as if the Saints lose this one. So, the Saints got to win this one if they want to have any shot to win the NFC South. And I think they will do that. I don't fully still trust the Panthers. And then it's the Rams going to the Cardinals, as, get this, the Rams are on the verge of getting their first winning season since 2003. As the Cardinals are trying to keep up in the NFC playoffs. And of course, if they lose this game, they're officially eliminated from winning the NFC West, as the Rams get closer and closer to getting NFC West all wrapped up. And of course, if the Seahawks lose this week, that might be a possibility. Maybe next week for the Rams to get it, because I'm pretty sure the Rams go to the Seahawks next week, so maybe they can begin wrapping it up. But of course, we have to wait till then, as the Rams got that hard-fought victory against the Saints. That was a very neat tiebreaker. Of course, that loss against the Vikings really going to hurt them for their seed, as they're stuck at the third seed at the moment. And the Cardinals just barely squeaked out that game against the Jaguars. They had, and then the Jaguars all of a sudden pull off a comeback, but luckily for them, it just wasn't enough. As the Rams beat them last time out, and we saw in London. And get this, the Rams have beaten the Cardinals in Glendale, I think, every year since 2014. Ugh. And that's when the Cardinals were good, and the Rams would go into Glendale and actually beat them. So, oh boy. I mean, after they got destroyed in London many weeks ago, I think I always pick the Cardinals pretty much every year when they hosted the Rams, but this time around, I really can't trust them. And the Rams have had very good success the last bunch of years against the Cardinals in Glendale, so I'm going to pick the Rams for this one. And then it's the Giants going to the Raiders for the first time since 2005, as of course the Giants are eliminated from the playoffs. And wow, unbelievable. For the first time in over 13 years, someone other than Eli is going to start as their QB. Wow, that is just incredible. I actually am surprised that he actually chose to decline starting, because as much as he's struggling, Geno Smith's no better than him. And of course, I don't know about I think I heard they had a rookie QB, I guess, for like a later draft pick this year, and who knows what he could do and such. But well, Eli, I'm actually really surprised that you would actually continue to play and such, since you're most certainly the best QB on the team that we know of at the moment. So, wow. I just really can't believe that they did that. I mean, he did that as the Raiders trying to keep up against the Chargers and the Chiefs in the AFC West, and of course keep up with the Ravens and Bills and everyone else in the wild card round the AFC. I think it's pretty obvious it's going to be the Raiders to get this one, but I'm not expecting the Giants to win. But if you lose to the Giants, you do not deserve to go into the playoffs. The Giants are terrible, and now that I have an Eli as their starter, if you lose to them at home, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Sorry, Matthew, if you got triggered by me saying that. I was sure you'd probably agree with that, too. And then we get to the huge Sunday night game, as it's the Eagles going to the Seahawks for the second year in a row. As like I said earlier, regardless if the Cowboys somehow do beat the Redskins, the Eagles will clinch the playoff spot and the NFC East if they beat the Seahawks this week. As they got that dominant victory against the Bears. They've won now like 9 or 10 in a row or something like that. It's unbelievable. And of course the Seahawks managed to beat the 49ers. I was actually kind of surprised about that, since I thought the Seahawks were going to struggle without LOB. But they managed to hold tough there. But of course, now you got to go up against the best team in the league with Carson Wentz playing at an unbelievable level. And then you got to worry about that defense, who are going to absolutely blitz the absolute shit out of Russell Wilson and shut down that running game. It's not even going to be close. Eagles are going to get that. I'm sure Miami's parents will be miserable about that one too. But if the Seahawks somehow do beat the Eagles, that'll be a stunning upset too. And they would need that in order to keep up with the Rams in the NFC West and everyone else in the NFC playoffs. And then we get to the Monday night game, as it's the Steelers going to the Bengals. As I mentioned earlier, the Steelers cannot clinch the AFC North, even if they win, the Ravens lose. And of course, if they win, knock the Bengals off, that will officially mean the Bengals cannot win the NFC North for the rest of the year. As the Steelers had a hard-fought game against the Packers, that's a little bit concerning for them to barely beat them, too. You got to be a little bit worried about them, too, because that's a game that they probably normally would lose, and they just got barely lucky to get that one. They got to keep that up if they want to keep up with the Patriots, and of course, the Jaguars, too. You got to watch out for them, too, in AFC playoffs. As the Bengals now won, I believe, 2 in a row now. So they're still fighting hard, even though it's probably going to be Marvin Lewis's last year, pretty much, or at least you hope, as they're still struggling overall. And of course, the Bengals have not beaten the Steelers at home since 2013. Oh my God, I don't know what it is when the Steelers go into Paul Brown Stadium. They just embarrass the Bengals, and they just don't know what to do against them. And I think that's going to be the case again this year, as I'm picking the Steelers to beat the Bengals. So those are my picks for the first week 13, I believe it was. I can't wait for Redskins at Cowboys tomorrow, as that's going to have major NFC East implications. I can't wait for the rest of the games this week, as hopefully we'll start seeing some couple teams finally make a playoff spot this week. So I can't wait for this week.